my name is Guenny K Pires. I'm a Cape Verdean filmmaker and a visual media professor. I have been working in film for over 2 decades.
Hello and welcome to Obehi Podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started with this episode.
I was born in a very tiny village on the west coast of Africa, on the island of Fogo, Cabo Verde. Currently, I live in Los Angeles area. I've been here for the last 17 years of my life. I've been to Africa, to the continent. I visited some countries for work, and of course, as a filmmaker, I've been to many film festivals, mainly in the US, but also in North America, South America, Latin America, and Africa itself, of course, Europe. So, I'm very, I would say, in a humble way, I'm very well connected to the filming community in the different nations.
Now, I want us to, of course, we are going to be going into your filmmaking just now, and of course, storytelling, because as a filmmaker, you are a storyteller, and which is something really fascinating. I think James Allen, in one of his books, once said that the artists are the creator of the other world. And so that means as artists, you have a lot of power in your hands. Let's go back to you when you were more like a teenager in Capo Verde. Tell me a bit about you growing up.
I grew up in the city of San Felipe. I'm a son of, I'm number seven, but my mother and my father, they lived in the countryside. I grew up with my uncle and my auntie in the city. And it was very cool, back in the days. There was no internet, there was no telephone, no cell phone. Life it was more quiet. We hang out, went to school. But we didn't have a high school on the island. Then I had to travel to another island, Santiago, where I spent a couple of years of my life, went to high school, but then I returned back to Fogo. And I lived in the country for several years, but then, after went to school in Portugal, some part of my degrees is from Portugal and some part of my degrees is from the US. That's very much what I did when I was teenage. We had a different life than today, completely.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. That's really very interesting. Now, what is your filmmaking about? Maybe if you were to draw a kind of a message that run across all your filmmaking, this is the message that you are trying to push out to the world. What would that kind of message be?
Well, as a filmmaker, I wanted to promote Africa. I wanted to be the voice of those who doesn't have voice. I'm trying to talk on my films. I discuss themes like social justice, liberation, African liberation, Pan-Africanism.
We believe that everyone has a story to share. We believe in the power of storytelling in today's digital economy. Yes, we believe that our audience need to be touched at the level of emotion so we can better engage. What about you? Do you believe in storytelling as much as we do? Do you want to reach the hearts and minds of your audience? Then join us in our online training class, Storytelling for Content Creators and Digital Entrepreneurs. Come to obehi14.com/storytelling and learn how to leverage your storytelling skills so you can earn more as a content creator and digital entrepreneur. Storytelling is a powerful instrument at our disposal. Let's explore it together. See you in the class.
I discuss the education, the value of education, and why African people need to learn about their history, about their culture. As a mother of humanity, Africa has so much things that is untouchable. The things we don't know yet, the things we already know, but a lot of people trying to pitch negative image of Africa. And my work as a filmmaker is to kind of, break it down, show the pretty of Africa, of his people, his culture, our culture, I want to say. Even I'm from the island of Cabo Verde, but, I'm feeling, that is just, I'm out of Africa, but I'm still from that continent. My ancestors from there. So my work as a filmmaker, it's kind of heavy responsibility, to promote Africa in an entire, in terms of what is the best of Africa, not what is the worst of Africa. Because everywhere you go, even America, you have a lot of issues, you have a lot of difficulties, you have a lot of things, injustice, all those things. And of course, you have those things in Africa everywhere, right? But why do we have to focus on just negative part of Africa? Why can't we focus on the positive aspect of Africa and its people? And that's my work as a filmmaker. As today, if I had a power, I would work. I would say the world to be live, to respect each other, to live in peace and harmony, and to be friends. That's my message. Peace, love, and friendship. That's my message to the world.
Thank you so much for that. That's very important. That's really interesting. So, do you also put in a bit of politics in your filmmaking? I don't know, maybe a bit of looking at the political situation in Africa today. Do you also talk about those within your area of social justice and things like that?
Oh no, of course not. My one of the film I made years ago about Santo Tome and Principe, about the labor, contract labors in Santo Tome and Principe. It was about the colonization, the power, how the colonization, the colonizers, uh, put down the power of people in Africa. How the politicians today, use their power, the Western power actually, to to get in power, but then when they get in power, they forget about all the things they should do to help their own people. The issue with politicians, they care about themselves, they don't care about people. And of course, in this film contract, we discussed that. We asked Portugal, Cabo Verde, and Sao Tome and Principe to come together as a nation, as a government, to help those people, those poor people who still live in the island with no water, no electricity, no education. So that's the future. The education is the future of any society. If you don't care about education, you don't care about the basic of living. We all need a water, right? We all need a cleaner water, healthcare. We need education. It should be free for everyone. And those poor contract labor descendants, many of them already died, but those descendants who live in the countryside in Saint Tome, they still live in the house in the ghetto. So they're still, suffering all the kind of issues like in the 60s, in the 50s, back in the colonialism days. So even in Africa, the majority of the nation today got their independence from former colony. But still, we have a lot of corruption, a lot of misinformation. The politicians use the power for themselves. So I'm trying to address that much I can in the films. And also, create a project like George Folk International Film Festival where people has the voice, to share their own experience and to create possibility to get a better to get better life. So we have been doing that for quite some time, and we still believe it's possible. We're not competing with politicians, but of course we have to tell them, listen, the art, the culture, the history is very important for any nation. And if you're not doing that, you should not be in charge of the country.
Absolutely. That's true. That's true. I say here quite often that be a political leader. Of course, everybody is a leader. Either you are a leader in your own space, but
Sure.
that type of leadership is not the same as political leadership. That is a responsibility. Being a political leader is a huge responsibility. It's not for everybody. If you are not ready to serve the people, you shouldn't be there. It is not for self-aggrandizement. It's not because you are the most handsome person in the town, or maybe you are the most intelligent per se. It's because you are ready to serve the people. That is the only reason why you are there. So yeah, I agree with you 100% that if they are not ready to serve, they shouldn't come. All right, now I'm trying to understand how you manage to understand, because now you are using filmmaking as an instrument for you to pass your message across, which is what I actually find to be very interesting at the end of the day. But when did you realize that this was going to be what you were going to do? I mean, when did you know that filmmaking was going to be something for you?
Yeah, I didn't know I would be one day working in film. I didn't have it. My background back years ago. I was a nurse, then I became a teacher, but and I went to college to study sociology and anthropology. I realized it was necessary to get into the media, to look into the media. So that was back in 1995 when I started to use photography. I used to use photos to tell the stories about my village. And then I realized there was more need to get into the video production kind of stuff. Then I went to school to study cinema. And I feel, there was some type of, I was something, the fact that my family, a lot of them are into the arts, in a way, in this way or in another way. A lot of them was already in arts, working, as a producer kind of stuff. Then I realized myself, I could be one of the voice, of the Cape Verdean diaspora in the Africa continent itself, mainly in the west coast of Africa. There's a lot of stories need to be told. And I started to make a film, but it was very, you know, uh, low budget documentaries. I'm still doing that, but of course, right now have more credential, have more, knowledge. Of course, filmmaking is a process, is a learning process. You learn it every day. You learn something. If you're doing it for years, then you become something in terms of, in a humble way, of course, because we, as African people, we should, my perspective, we should understand the power we have in the continent, and sometimes we don't use that. Even if we live in the village, we still have the power, but we have to know how to use this power. And I'm using film to tell the stories about African people and the diaspora, in a sense that will educate myself, but also I will educate society, because filmmaking is one of the most, I want to say, visual storytelling is one of the most powerful tools to teach and also to make money. No, say that you must make a film because you have to make money. Sometimes you don't make money, but you pass the message. You create some type of art that people would like to see more about it, and that's what makes me feel that I have a responsibility, and also I have some type of privilege to be in this position because a lot of folks wanted to be a filmmaker, but they don't have a chance to be a filmmaker. I do have a chance, so I have to use it in a good way. I have to use it in a perfect way to help people, and sometimes no help directly myself, but of course the return always come to you. As a filmmaker, you always get something in return, but you folks should be helping telling the story. Otherwise, it will not be possible.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's a kind of give and take at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You are not going to be taking all the time. It's not going to work. I think it was this morning actually. I was talking with my wife. We were watching some Italian sort of mini documentary where they were talking about their past, people that have been here before. If at each time we see it, we always reflect back to our country because me and my wife were both coming from the same place in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
So our reflection become very easy for us because we talk about almost about the same thing. So we say, if we could be doing something like this in Nigeria, in our village, for example, in our small town, which is Uromi, how important this actually would be. Because now these people, because they are talking about this, they are old people that have lived several tens of years ago. It becomes easy for new generation to sort of have a kind of a reference for themselves to say, okay, this is how our forefather did their thing. Now let me improve on it. Let me do better compared to maybe in a situation like oftentimes we do see in Africa, where young people just grow up, they don't have any serious reference. Okay, I mean, we are alive, I know. You have your father, I know. But in terms of cultural reference, that you can really hold on your hand, we don't put emphasis on that. So you just grow up, do what you like to do. Okay, I'm not saying we need to force people, but I'm saying people need to take the time to curate our culture so that it can even be marketable. Why not? We can even make money promoting our culture. It is legitimate. I
Yeah.
think this is something that we need to really do more of. Now you and I were in the West. We come to understand that in the West, anything at all can become money. How do you see the importance of storytelling in today Africa? Help me with that.
It's a very, very, very important. It's one of the most important thing to do uh, because there's a lot of benefits from telling your story from your own perspective. Because if I go to your village, even I'm from Africa, right? But I was born on the island. It's completely different perspective when I go into the continent. The culture, the lifestyle, everything's are different, right? But the people from the village, they have more knowledge. They're more knowledgeable than myself. Even I'm a filmmaker, I'm a professor, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The people of the village, they grew up with their story. They died with their story. So we have to record the story. One of the aspects of this film festival, Jalfolk International Film Festival, is exactly to do that, to record the story of elderly, because we grew up listening to the story to the grandma, grandpa. That's the way African developed back in the early civilization. So we still have a lot work to do in this matter. My perspective is to use the power of visual storytelling to record that story, to show the story to the community, to teach them about their own story. Because a lot of us, we don't know about our ancestors. We don't know about our village. We don't know anything about us, but we know everything, almost everything from the Western. And we bring the Western as a better than us. Not the way to go. In my perspective, in my humble opinion, I think the African people need to use their power, their story. That's the richest part of Africa is that story, our story. We need to learn about our story, share this story with the rest of the world, and then make sure we get enough to create better education, better economical society, more equal. Everybody has the same rights to go to school, to go to university, to have a decent life, to have good healthcare, to have water, to clean water, to have electricity, to live like you should live. So until that day, we have to continue to struggle. Like Amilcar Cabral said, a luta continua. The struggle is not over. We got independence, right? The majority of the African nation got the independence in the 60s, in the 50s, in the 70s, right? My country got independence in 1975, like many former Portuguese colonies. But we today, as a nation, were more colonized, in my perspective, than before. Because today, the colonization comes in all forms, economical, education, like books that we produce, the book we read, the book we see the knowledge is not our books, it's a book from the Western. The TV, the news, everything is from the Western. So we have to, I'm not saying to ban that, to completely go against that. It's not that. We have to give up, to see what we have, and to really understand the value, the rich, the power we have. It's not like philosophy. It's a reality. It's there. We have to work with the community, with the local leaders, and we have to tell them, listen, we have the power. You don't have the power, but you come to my country and you take everything we have, and we still continue the same way we were before. So that's something has to change, and the power of visual storytelling can help us, can help Africa to be the leader again, like it was back in the days. Even today, a lot of nations, Nigeria, for example, is one of the best cinema, has one of the best cinema in the continent. It makes like $5 billion every year, and it gives a job to more than 5 million people, and they make like so many films per year, but the quality and all these things, still has to be improved. But of course, there's a way, there's a hope that Africa and the whole, diaspora would be beneficial from this storytelling, this power of storytelling. If we work in Africa as a nation, and then we connect to the diaspora, because there's a lot of African descent living abroad. So we need to work with them, to exchange information, bring them to the continent, bring students to the diaspora. This exchange, this cultural and academic exchange, is very important to us. This is why we have this segment on Jaffa International Film Festival. This segment is exactly what I'm talking about. To see the value of the people, to see the value of our story, and record our story when the people is still alive. The elderly is still there, the grandpa is still there. So it's a very important aspect, to discuss and to bring it to life if we, are organizing the way we should be.
Thank you so much for that. That's important too. But is there anything that you needed to learn yourself to be able to do what you are doing today? Because I mean, the tool, this technique, the skills to be able to do a good job. Some of these things we are not born with them. So tell me about it. Your learning. What do people have to learn to be able to tell a good story visually?
Well, you have to learn the visual language. That's the first thing. You have to learn how to tell a story because there's so many aspects of filmmaking. And if you're going to use documentary to tell your story, if you're going to use fictional stories that still tell the same type of message, of course, it's different. But if you're going to use like, you're just going to be on the social media, just broadcast whatever there's so many power to work with. But I think the best way to learn about your own story is to be interested about your story. And then, learn the technical aspect of filmmaking. You don't need a big canvas to tell your story. You can just use your phone. But of course, there's some limitation in terms of audio, in terms of uh, quality of the video, the pictures, etc. But of course, there's many opportunities there. There's a school, there's a free class. I teach free class every Saturday, 10 o'clock Pacific time.
To be a great content creator in today's fast changing economy, you need one thing: storytelling. Storytelling is a powerful instrument to leverage either for personal use or for your business success. This is why this training class, Storytelling for Content Creator and Digital Entrepreneurs, was created. It is designed to help you leverage the power of storytelling so you can stand out from the crowd and earn more in your business. Come to obehi-4.com/storytelling and learn how to leverage your storytelling skill to earn more as a content creator and digital entrepreneur. You need the power of storytelling to stand out in the competition. So let's explore it together. See you in the class.
So there's many videos online, YouTube, but of course you don't have access to internet, to the internet in Africa, like in the Western. And we need to learn in school. We need to teach our kids from the year one into completion of high school. We need to teach them about our history, about our culture, and that's something must be part of our programming. And as a filmmaker, I feel there's much more to learn than what I already know, but it's possible to start from scratch. You know nothing about filmmaking, but over the years you're going to learn about filmmaking. You have to dedicate time, put a time to learn about filmmaking. It's not like you go 4-year college. It's different. You go 4-year college, then you're done. If you want to continue studies, you can go to master's degree, go to PhD or whatever you want. It's fine. But filmmaking, you cannot learn it one day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. It's over the years. And then the experience come to you as you're making films. So my idea about this power we have as an artist is to share this knowledge with the youth from Africa. This is why in this film festival, we said we're interested to teach visual storytelling to youth because they are the future of the nation, they are the future of the world. And if we teach them correctly to decolonize themselves, right? Because that's the most important thing to me, is not using only filmmaking to tell the story, but also to educate people. If we use filmmaking to educate ourselves, then educate other people to show them about themselves. Then they understand the value, the power that we have as a storyteller. And that's something you learn through your career, through your life. It's a life experience, it's a life journey. You cannot just start today and say, okay, I'm going to stop right here. If I stop right here, every technology, every development, everything comes after today, I'm done. So it's a lot of stuff to go through, but definitely, if it is one thing you wanted to learn and use, is the power you have, and use it for yourself, use it for other, and make sure you tell your story. No matter, start with your family. It's very important to learn about your own family, your own village, and then share it to the rest of the world. It's a there's a many possibility today. You don't have to go to film school to become a filmmaker. No, necessarily. But of course, if you go to film school, you learn the basicals. So the basical is something you want to learn, but the most important aspect of filmmaking, learning filmmaking, I want to say, is dedication, is, your openness to it. What do you say? The best word to put, I think, is to show that you're ready. You are ready. Ready to embrace the joy. So then, of course, if I found someone I'm interested to learn, for example, about Osman Samben, Safi Faye, and many other African filmmakers, of course, I would say, yeah, you are in a good direction. But you cannot think about filmmaking. Are you from Africa? Not learning about your own filmmakers. You have to learn about your elderly first. Then you can say, okay, I'll go outside. I wanted to learn about somebody else, but first I need to learn about myself, about my village, so that way you become better prepared to become a filmmaker.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's important. That's really important. All right, now the people that are listening to us, now they get motivated, but they don't yet understand what actually are the value. What is the importance of this kind of job, being a filmmaker today? Does it have any value for them, and maybe for the individual who we are trying to encourage to get involved in this storytelling?
I think so. I think it's very powerful when you know what you're doing, when you know where you come from. The problem with filmmaking, it's money, right? A lot of us independent filmmakers struggle to produce a film. Even we wanted to produce the best films, but we don't have the money. That's one big issue. But more than that, it's about the organization. How can you organize yourself and bring collaboration from outside so you can tell your story? So yes, it's very, very important to know the filmmaking, world, I want to say, because some language that you use in books, in a novel, is different, to be honest, it's different from scripts, screenplays, etc. But of course, the language that I'm talking about is a visual language. The visual language, you have to understand certain things. There's some rules. You have to follow those rules. But of course, as a filmmaker, if you are open to knowledge, there's many possibilities to get knowledge. And of course, when you have the knowledge, don't keep it for yourself. Share it with somebody else. That way, you are making contribution to the future generation of filmmakers. And that's the reason why I'm, focused on education. I use filmmaking as a tool to educate myself, to educate society, to entertain it, of course. But of course, to learn about culture, about food, about music, about arts. So that's very, very, very important aspect that you can use as a filmmaker, to make some contribution, because you cannot just think about money as a filmmaker. Okay, I'm going to make this film, I'm going to make $1,000,000, but what I'm going to do for society, what I'm going to do for my community. So as a filmmaker, you are also you have the responsibility not just to tell the story, but to really make sure the message you have in your films, they're powerful message, the message that people need to learn about. Because if I grew up in the village, I don't know anything about the village because I left the village when I was 5th. I never went back to the village. So I will not be who I am today. I will not be this kind of filmmaker I wanted to be. So it's a very complex situation, right? But at the same time, you can, of course, manage yourself into this world and still be very, in a humble way, say, okay, I have something to say. I have a voice. I can use my voice to help youth to learn about themselves, to become better educated, to decolonize our minds, because that's the most important aspect of filmmaking to me, is to use this tool that we have as a visual storyteller to educate people about their history. A lot of folks in my country doesn't know anything about Ethiopia. Doesn't have anything. That doesn't learn. That we don't know a lot of things about Nigeria, for example. We don't have a lot of things about. We don't know a lot of things about Mali, Senegal, every coast. But we're neighbors. You see the point? So the reason why it's important to tell your stories, because you're going to learn about yourself.
Today, 2022, of course, we have technology all around us. Did all this one have any role to play in the way that we tell our stories today?
Yeah, one of the things I learned from one of the most intellectual, more brilliant men of the US, Noam Chomsky, he told me in an interview, the internet was the future. The internet has the power. So today, African nation and the African people must use the power of internet technology to tell our stories. So we don't have to wait. We don't have to wait to get bigger cameras, right? To get a lot of money to tell a story. We can use the power of the internet in the village, record the story, use this small camera, and record live, broadcast. So there's a lot of possibility today, better than 10 years ago, better than 5 years ago, because the internet's getting better in the village, and in the many countries we have a powerful internet. But of course, it's not just the internet. We need to be organized. The organization that we have to go through, the aspects, in terms of leadership in Africa, as in my humble opinion, must change, because the leadership is the future of a nation. And if you don't have good leaders, if you have corrupted leaders, then nothing's going to happen. Next generation is going to be more corrupted than this generation. So the problem became, how can you use the power of the internet to tell a story? But how to tell a story in a country where it's dictatorship? So dictatorship is not good for any nation. And in Africa, the problem became, when I get to the power, I don't want to leave the power, because I don't want to be like everybody else. I don't want to lose my privilege. So that's the big issue when you use this power you have, the internet, the technology allows you, to tell your story better, in a better way than before, I want to say.
Of your film, the type of film that you have made, the different type of film that you have made, is there anyone that stand out to you because of the message you need, because of the reception of the people that you want to single out from your work?
Well, this filming contract, because it is a story about my family, my uncle, my mother, my family, and also because it documents a story from centuries never told before. Nobody knew about Saint Tomé, former Portuguese colony. So that film is kind of one of my favorite films. But my last film, my last short film, The Volcano's Last Wish, it's also some other type of memory type of film, is a film, and I made another film very interesting to me, very important film. Was very well received in many countries, In Search of My Identity. What I learned from these projects is, the visual storytelling. It's very important to anybody, but if you learn the value about you, if you learn about the value of your own story, you are better prepared, to live and to be succeed.
All right. Now, when you look at yourself today, with where you have gone and the thing that you have done within the film making, and you look at maybe the younger generation that are coming after you, what do you feel about them? Do you think that they have the curiosity, they are willing to learn? Also, because they are the one that have better opportunity actually, if we want to look at the tools of the trade. Because now with the internet, with just your smartphone, that is more powerful than the machine that NASA used to send someone to the moon. That is at your back pocket, which means if you really want to tell story, you can tell story even easier than what it was a couple of years ago. So when you look at young people today, this might be young Africans in the diaspora or young Africans in Africa. What do you see?
I see more power to the people today. I remember when I first traveled to Senegal, to Gambia and Guinea-Bissau years ago. To today, I see a lot of progress in Africa. The power of internet, the small telephone. I see the people in Africa better prepared today. The only issue, not really, but kind of issue is we're trying to learn a lot of stuff from outside, which goes against the African tradition, religion, the value of way of living, way of eating. So that's something we have to learn, that we have the power. And as an adult, as an elderly, as a professors, as a filmmaker or anything, you should, embrace the good values of life and then share that knowledge to the youth, because they don't know sometimes. Even they have all this power, all these tools, but they don't know how to use them. Because sometimes a lot of folks use social media just to post stuff, bad stuff. You don't have to do that. You can use social media to post good things, right? It depends on how you're going to use these tools, and how can you get benefits from them in a positive way. Because there's easy way to get distracted today, and many ways possible to get distracted. So you have to stay focused and make sure you use these tools, the internet, the technology, the small cameras, and even you don't need a visual. You can just record the voice. You can just record oral stories, traditions, the value of tradition in Africa. It's something needs to be documented on the book, but written by the African perspective, not from the Western perspective. Remember, again, the biggest issue that we have, in my perspective, most humble opinion, is the Western come to Africa, or they went to Africa in the past, right? But still today, they go to Africa to get what we have. They don't have those things, but they go to Africa to take it from us. So we have to be smart enough to teach the young generation to keep the best of Africa for African people. That's the big issue for us. We sold slavery back in the days, but still today, the politicians selling the nation again to the Western because it is an easy way to get our money. So that's not a good way to teach and to use internet or technology to teach the youth. We have to tell them the truth. Africa must be for African people. The things from Africa, it's the biggest continent in the world. All those continents together, still smaller than Africa, right? Only in Nigeria, in your country, has more than 2,000, I want to say, or you better tell me if it's true or not, but more than 200 language, culture and everything in Nigeria. In Angola, we have so many language. But in America, you only speak English. In UK, you only speak English. But we don't value that,
the point also is that those things that you made mention of, which are actually the value, some people look at it as if it were a problem. The fact that we have many languages, people think it is a problem, but it is not a problem. It is a value. It's something that we should be proud of. And to think that the politician uses it as a racket against the people is really unfortunate, because we see now that Africans, we have been living among ourselves for several millennia. These languages are not actually new. It means that the people have been living with them, dealing with them all these years. Look at, for example, the Empire of Mali. Only in the 12th century, bigger than the whole of Western Europe put together. How did they manage to run the system? If we believe, if we are just thinking in our head that it is the first time we are meeting again, we never knew ourselves before. No, it is not true. We meet a number of times. People could move from the north to the south, from the south to the north, to the east, to the west. It's a small piece of land, and humanity has been living here for several thousands of years before anybody could come to Europe. Because Europe, again, it was too cold, and human being cannot survive in a place as cold as that. That is why Europe was actually the last land to be occupied by human being. Anyway. Now, tell me a little bit about film festival that you are working on. I think that is important. What do you want us to know about that?
Well, this film festival we founded in 2019, but due pandemic we could not have been, started into 2021. So this is second edition. This film festival was founded by Chang film members, and we're trying to use the power of storytelling, to give a voice to mainly West African filmmakers, to broadcast, to show their work at a right level, international film festival. So our program has film screenings, it has a visual arts education component, and also it has academic exchange, cultural experience. So we focus mainly to promote the minorities filmmakers, to promote their work, but also to teach youth filmmakers, but also to have exchange, like students from US or from West Africa go to Cape Verde, they experience the festival, they learn about how to tell the story and how to record good interviews, how to become better filmmakers. And of course, we do these exchanges. So for us, that's very important. The program also has a component to record local stories, story about people who lived in the village who's not part of the society today. For some reason they died. We all one day gonna go that way, probably. Um, but we still have stories, we still know about our ancestors. So we wanted to record that story and make documentaries about people, culture, history, and share it with the rest of the filmmaking, the festival, but of course via internet to everyone who may be interested. So this film festival is different from different other film festival. It's a five days film festival. We have opening night this year in Praia, in the city capital of Cabo Verde. And the rest of the programming will be on the island of Fogo from 8 to 12. So we have 5 days that we're gonna go to school. We're gonna teach about filmmaking, masterclass, workshops in terms of film production. Also, we're gonna have co-production, discussion, trying to get people, to, share knowledge, but not just knowledge, but form co-production with a different filmmaker, different organization. And also we're gonna have a very important aspect is go to school and teach youth about filmmaking. Even if you never are interested to become a filmmaker, but at least to understand how how important it is to tell your story for your own point of view. And the other aspect of this film festival that we believe is very important is to bring people to the Cape Verdean nation, as a first slave port of West Africa. And more importantly, is to, to record the story of the Cape Verdean diaspora or the African diaspora, bring it to life into the festival. So our program is kind of large, but also we want a quality. We don't want it to have 200 films screening, but we want 125. We want 25 films to be competing between them. But of course, we have some limitation in terms of financial. So we ask anybody that may be interested, to partnership with us, to help us to continue this work, because it requires a lot of investment, but also require a lot of work. And we are ready on the second year, preparing for the second year, and we're really looking forward to bring more filmmakers from the diaspora to Cape Verde, but that's required more money, more accommodation, more food, more everything. So that costs money. And we don't have sponsorship from, for example, we don't receive any grants or any other way, form of, funding that will, allow us to really, use all the tools we have available right now to have a large number of filmmakers on the island of Fogo or Cabo Verde. But, as we move forward, of course, things are going to get better for us. but the importance of uh, filmmaking, the importance of filmmaking and the film festival in Africa are weak. It's big, big than what we think. Because the film festival in Africa is a great opportunity to bring filmmakers to come together to discuss about, to show the film mainly, but to discuss about the issue that we have been discussing in this conversation. So we wanted really to, to embrace storytelling, to bring folks from the continent, but also from the Africa diaspora, from the Caribbean, for example, to show their work, to show their experience about their filmmaking, about their cinema. And of course, there's many cinemas in Africa, in the world, but of course, we want to really work together, to tell a story.
Okay, so what would be, how can people connect with you, those who want to get connected to you?
Oh, I can look to Jarfog International Film Festival, where over internet. I'll share some links with you, but also we're on social media, and it's easy. Just Google my name, Guenny Pires, or Jarfog International Film Festival, or Cham Film Production Visual Arts. Anybody can email us at jarfogufilme at gmail.com, or through our website, jarfogfilme.org. Today, if you need information about anybody or any organization or any type of, thing you need, you can easily get it. So we have to do our part, of course. We try our best. We need much more, we need to do more than what we have been doing. But definitely, people also must be interested, to get in touch, and we are available to help and to provide information we have, and to provide any connection, any network that we may have. We wanted to share it with everybody. And of course, film festival like this is not about, no profit organization. Of course, we depend on donations and all those kind of stuff. But we wanted to provide the best we have to our guests, and to share any type of information we have to the people, that are interested to learn about us. Just contact us, then we can, talk about any issue and come with solution together.
All right. Thank you so much for that. What will be your final statement here, considering what we have discussed today? Maybe a message or anything you would like to say to conclude it.
Well, I would like, to be able to connect to the youth in a continent. Yeah, I would like to be connected with the school, and for that we are open, to continue this journey as a filmmaker, but also to promote, use visual storytelling to promote Africa, to promote its people, our culture, our history, and most importantly, we want to use the power of visual storytelling to teach ourselves about us, but also to share our story with the world. And we wanted to do it in a powerful way, using the power of storytelling to come to, to make us as a one nation, one people, like like Hassan Rassi said, no, don't see people on the color of their eyes. That's something we wanted to use, the peace, the love, and the friendship, to continue to tell the story to the world. We want really to see the value of any nation, any culture, any history, any people, that we all are the human being, human. So as a human being, we all have the same. As a human being, we all have the same type of needs. We need a water, we need a food, we need a knowledge. So if we come together as a people, and if we come together as a nation, if we come together as a continent, then definitely African people will benefit directly from what we have. So that's the power that we're trying to use when we talk about visual storytelling, about filmmaking. So by end of the day, we want to use this power to give the power back to the people.
Thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure here listening to you.
Yeah, same here, my friend. So let's keep talking, and next time maybe we will have some other folks with us.
Certainly.
If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewafo. Thank you so much for listening, and talk to you in the next episode.